Gabriel Rasengwatshe, Executive Director of KGR. Buy gold or silver. Get your high-value cargo delivered safely. Convener of Action for Jobs. Published author, We Need an Economic Calling. Please do us a favor. If you're watching this and have not subscribed yet, kindly do so. It will help us grow. It will help you grow, as we promise to keep bringing great guests and have beautiful, insightful conversations. Mr. Gab, I understand you were once a station manager at Gabz-FM, and you came up with Gabz-FM Advantage.
Yes.
What was the dream?
Well, Gabz-FM Advantage was a special strategy, not just for the growth of the radio station itself. When you look at our media ecosystem, you'd realize that Gabz-FM is at the top of the food chain. And once you are at Gabz-FM, it's very difficult then to grow into another industry or another node of the ecosystem. So in our thinking, Gabz-FM should have been a growth area for the film industry, because we believe that the quality production that the radio station has could be assimilated onto the film industry from a production perspective. We are great behind the camera. That was our view, but we are not that great in front of the camera. That's what we were hoping we could attain. However, over and above that, the understanding was that the film industry needed a lot of support, and most particularly from the private sector. So in thinking what we could do to contribute to the growth of the film industry, we thought if RB1, which is the national radio station, could become a catalyst for the music industry as we know it today, because that's where the music industry is from. It's from RB1. RB1 used to be the only radio station that would go around the country, and they would record praise poets, maboko. They would record musicians would be playing the hankure and what have you. Then they would take that content and go play it on radio. And that's how we got here. So we thought a radio station as great as Gabz-FM should do the same and try to push the film industry forward. So we then, with Gabz-FM Advantage, came about the concept of imagining that through my affiliation with other CEOs, because I at that level I could talk to them, that we should assemble our teams, or basically our companies around the film industry, raise 30 million Pula, pour it onto the film industry and say, you guys, you have no excuse now. You've got the private sector behind you. You've got our assets. You've got pretty much what you need. Here's 30 million Pula. Do with it what you can within a space of 18 months, because we had given it 18 months. We were thinking that with that, we could come up with a decent 10 feature films. And we thought that with 10 feature films, it would have packaged enough of the whole ecosystem, and looked at trying to then export not just the Botswana story, but the Botswana businesses, and supporting with that the nascent industry. And our argument when we're pitching to other CEOs was that this will be an industry that will remember you when now it is set. They will remember you. They will have now money, because when they start having that money, the first people they would buy from would be you. That was our pitch. That was what we're trying to convince other CEOs to do. So yes, in a way, we were trying to align with government expectation. Government was trying to call on the private sector to assist with with creating jobs, employment opportunities for many of our graduates. So there were all those elements. I could speak more and more about it, but that will take the whole the whole of our show. But at the core of it, it was not just to position Gabz-FM as a corporate force, but it was also to try and mobilize resources for the film industry. Yes.
Yeah. But why was it mainly the entertainment industry that you were focusing on?
The film industry presents perhaps the quickest shortcut to having an upward mobility. You know, for you to create employment, you need to have something that can be a catalyst to an upward mobility. A set like this one, a full set like this one would take at least 35 people to put it together. So if you have 10 of these, that's already 350 people. So now imagine a film set where you are shooting a feature film. Just to have extras. The Matrix, when The Matrix was shot in Australia, they had 1,000 extras.
That's a lot.
One of my friends, my school buddies, he was in Australia at the time. He was on the set. He didn't feature, but he was part of the extras.
Yeah.
So you can imagine then how many more people. Just a budget film needs at least, just with a production team, you need at least 150 people just on set. So it was a no-brainer that if you can have 10 feature films, it's possible that in 18 months you could raise 1,000 people just who are doing production. Let's not go into ancillary services. You need lawyers, you need accounting, you need business managers. There was just so much that could spin off. But our focus was on production. Let's get production moving, and then basically the ecosystem will expand from there.
Okay.
So you are looking at film industries around the continent. The two major ones, the South African one, or as they call it, Gollywood, and the Nigerian one. When you look at the amount of contribution they put onto the GDP of those countries, then it is a no-brainer for a small country like ours with a huge youth population that it could be a great area. It's not the only way that we could raise jobs for them, but it's a quick way to absorb as many as we can. And at our time, we thought 1,000 in 18 months was possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are we with it?
We transitioned it. You see, when we were setting it up, we anticipated many scenarios. When you set up a project like that, you assess the risk. One of the risks that we identified was that there might be a change in management, and the coming management might not be interested in an idea that sort of is a corporate social responsibility idea. To them, it might look like it's a waste. So we anticipated that could happen. So that's why we had framed it as we did, such that when now there was a change in management as anticipated, the next management didn't care about it. So it transitioned into Action for Jobs, because the idea all along had been to try and get the graduates themselves to become an answer to their own major challenge, which is unemployment. So where we are now, we have done quite a lot since then. First of all, it was difficult to transition it from Gabz-FM Advantage into Action for Jobs, because they now had to be different things. They were not the same thing. So we have been, in the last few years, we have been developing an ecosystem, because the private sector didn't move as fast to embrace the new direction it was taking. So we have been working to build an ecosystem around the same vision, and we have achieved quite a number of things. We have developed different business units for Action for Jobs. One of those is FSBN. It's a platform. We needed a platform where graduates could get to find a way to do the same thing that we're asking, we had intended to do, which is to train in production. So as of last month, that business unit came alive. However, we are on the third phase of our strategy. I won't reveal all of it, But we're on the third phase of our strategy. I have since stepped aside from Action for Jobs and let the graduates themselves start to run it, basically. Why? Because we needed to set up, part of the ecosystem needed to be set up in South Africa. So that's where then in the last year and a half or so, I've been mostly personally working, while the rest of the team, the Action for Jobs team, is working in Botswana. We've been doing a setup in South Africa to try now and support young business people like yourself to access markets outside Botswana, because that would be critical. And we would love then to see the production, the film production that comes out of what Action for Jobs is actually working on. Because the film industry is still a core aspect of Action for Jobs. That's the whole point. But that story must come along with products, services, and the right people that will go as a story into other countries. And the first country is South Africa. So sort of being the first to arrive. See, as a leader, you need to be the first to get off the chopper and the last to get off the ground. Yeah. So basically, those are the new dynamics. That's where we are right now. But the push is still there. You're about to start seeing campaigns publicly that are linked to Action for Jobs and that we are supporting and all of that. But I'll let the CEO of Action for Jobs to deal with that. It's not really my day-to-day thing for me to comment a lot on. We can comment more on it when she's around.
Okay.
Yes.
So you left Gabz-FM and then you started Action for Jobs.
No, it just transitioned. It was a transition.
Okay, but you are not the one leading Action for Jobs right now.
No,
Why?
not at all. Because, the thing about innovation is that you need to learn, as a leader especially, to trust that things can go the way they want. The objective was never for me to own Action for Jobs. It was never my intention. It was a passion project for the benefit of the nation. So the challenge to those that are leading Action for Jobs now is to make it work out for others, but not to try and keep it to themselves. That is the challenge for them. So for me, it was an easy way to move to the side. Yes, our agency, the agency that I lead, that I've always led, even before Action for Jobs, even before I was Gabz-FM CEO, we've been running a management agency for far too long. We are asset managers. So we provide resources when they are required, we provide support, we provide direction and all of that. But the point is, which was also something I should have mentioned when I was talking about why Gabz-FM Advantage. Because fewer and fewer graduates go to offices, because there are not so many job opportunities, they never really get to see how business works. So they never get the experience of how an office works, right? So the intention then with us trying to show them how things work is trying to get them to get into the cycle of how a business operates so that they can appreciate what's going on. So in the same sense, Action for Jobs should be a place where you are catalyzing the different aspects of an ecosystem that supports the movement, the production, and ultimately the sales and marketing, the film industry. So that whole transition, we had to put it in place. We had to arrange it such that there are more people who can sort of, as a conduit, connect to it. So these are some of the things that essentially are meant to support young people who are coming up, because they don't have many opportunities where they can go and learn or practice or be an apprentice at. And I'm hoping that the current team at Action for Jobs can achieve that.
Yeah. Okay. Botswana is currently facing a lot of challenges economically. Yeah. And I once read somewhere, I'm going to read this. It says, Botswana's economy, once a success story of rapid development, fueled by diamond's wealth, is currently facing economic headwind, including a slowdown in diamond mining and decline in global demand. Where do you think we went wrong?
It's not a surprise. I don't understand why we speak about it like it's a surprise. Who doesn't know diamonds are finite? And who doesn't know that they're in trouble now because of lab-grown diamonds? So Botswana's economy is in as much trouble as any other economy. Right now, the way the world is shifting, especially with the advent of AI and new technology and biotechnology and all of that, we are in much more trouble than we think. Because while we are talking about diamonds, let me also tell you about our beef sector. Our beef sector is under threat of lab-grown meat. So if you think you are worried about lab-grown diamonds, I have a story for you. But we're not talking about that yet. But it's always because in Botswana, we are always behind the curve. You know, right now we are talking about fintech. And we are trying to say somehow Botswana can pivot on financial technology. That may be true, but we are talking about, we are 15, 20 years behind that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we are entering a space where developed countries are walking away from. They are now talking about how to solve the issue of digital currencies. That's not even a language we are having in our midst. So the erosion of Botswana's economy on the basis that diamonds are not selling, it's a non-starter. It is not even a conversation we should be having. The real conversation we should be having is, what do we replace the diamond with? Because that's a critical question. Very hard answer, though, to give. Because when you look at, first of all, mining contributes less than 3% of employment to Botswana. But yes, the diamond revenue contributes the most revenue to government, right? But the real question is, when you replace the diamond, what do you replace it with that can bring the same amount of value? And that's even harder than the question as to what happens if diamonds continue not selling. It's what do we do about it? And we are struggling with redefining who we are away from diamonds. Even with our new government, we seem to be wanting to invest more and more and more in the diamond story. But for how long? You see, diamonds should have long been an investment platform, not a consumption platform. But we've been consuming for as far as diamonds have been discovered. Yes, we have come to enjoy it. I mean, look at us. This is all diamonds. We are the diamond generation, basically. Absolutely. But they didn't, the Stone Age didn't end because they ran out of stones. The stones are still there.
You think it can be replaced, though?
It has to be. It's not necessarily what I think. What I think about it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You think it would matter? The cows will still be there when we have lab-grown meat. You think the cows will disappear? No. So what I think doesn't matter. But what matters is you will still be hungry. So you need to know how then to feed your people as a government, because they will be looking at you for solutions. That's where we are, not what we think will happen. It's happening. It's been happening. In 2015, we had an excruciating liquidity crunch. It's not a new thing. In 2008, we had the great financial crisis during the President Barack Obama's term. It hit us here. President Ian Khama had to use a lot of our reserves at the time. I think it was close to 70 billion Pula, thereabouts. It had to drop to about 54 billion Pula. 51 billion Pula. President Masisi left the reserves at about 54 billion Pula last year by November. These are facts. You can see them. Because of COVID. I hear that people are talking about how much money was used and where it was lost and what if. They forget that they were the ones calling the social services, where are my supplies? They forget they used that money. So it was a crisis. I don't know if the policies were correct. I won't comment much on the policies, like, for instance, the lockdown policies. But in the end, part of the money, I won't say most of the money, part of the money went there, and the reserves dropped to 54 billion by November last year. So you can tell that we have crises that we are facing that we need to address. But I don't know if we are confident of what needs to happen at this very point, because we need something like out of the ordinary to happen. And I don't know what that is at this point. Yeah.
In terms of unemployment,
Yes.
what do you think should be done? Do you think it lays down to the management or the government, or entrepreneurs should emerge and make sure that we develop our economy through entrepreneurship and hire more people? Yeah, what do you think about that?
That's a very difficult question to answer. We just looking at the numbers, right? Before COVID, 15% of the productive population in Botswana was in the formal sector. So you can see it's not a new problem. You know, if you have 85% of people in the informal sector, there's a problem. At the time, I think in 2016, the labor force was estimated in total at about 900,000. That's half the population. Of that, less than 500,000, I think it was about 470 something, were formally employed, with almost two-thirds of them in the private sector. But those numbers, they don't show the full picture of why things are the way they are. Part of the challenge that we have, which maybe in trying to answer your question, because it's a hard question to answer. You try, when you try and answer such questions, you don't want to be too simplistic. Simple is not simplistic. They are not the same thing. Part of the thing that we did, especially during the administration Yagare Mogai, we did very well in terms of the macroeconomics, but we didn't do so well by shifting our economy towards services. Now, a service economy is good if you have a strong manufacturing base. Now, we did not have a strong manufacturing base. So we ended up with an economy that today is an economy that I call a photocopy economy, where you are running from one internet cafe, photocopying papers, to another to go and certify them, to go and put them somewhere, drop them somewhere. You've got people the whole day running around. They are riding motorcycles, dropping papers. They are riding vehicles, dropping papers the whole day. Our greatest minds, our graduates, the people who have put money into, their main job is to spend 10,000 Pula a year dropping photocopies. And that is the basis of our economy. It's a freelance economy. It is as bad as a vendor economy like the one they have in Zimbabwe, where 90% of the people are selling bananas. I'm over-exaggerating, but I'm trying to paint a picture that the structure of the economy itself makes the idea of entrepreneurship very difficult, because when we think entrepreneurship, what do we think right now? Don't we think massages? Don't we think juices? Don't we think restaurants? But what we need really properly is to look at what the direction of the world. Where is the world going? Not what is the world consuming now. We are behind the curve. In 2100, right? Year 3000. Sorry. Year, I think 2100. Yeah, that's barely 100 years from now, right? Just under 100 years from now. we are going to have a scenario where human beings will be part machines. So where will we be at that time? What will people at that time need? What will industries be like? You know, those are questions we should be thinking about. We shouldn't be talking about a vision 2036 without understanding what the consumptions will look like at that time, so that we can start making the investments now. So if we are to talk about entrepreneurship, if we are to talk about creating jobs, we need to evolve the structure of our economy. We need to walk away from a service economy. It's not working for us. It's just not working for us. Yeah. Maybe manufacturing, maybe processing, but then we should answer the question, who will then consume? So such that when we know who will be consuming, we should know what we should be processing and we should be manufacturing.
Okay, before we move on, I want to understand about the sector which you think will be best suitable. I hear you mentioned manufacturing. I myself have been thinking that manufacturing is or will be one of the greatest industry in Botswana to ever emerge and to create employment. So I want to understand, with your understanding, which industry do you think will be best suitable for employment creation?
We live in a global economy. So it's not an issue of if a sector can be good or not. It's an issue of whether it can compete globally. You've got China as the world's production, basically the world's production house, right? Can we come up with products that can beat Chinese products? Can you beat Chinese products currently? The answer is no.
Yeah.
So the question is, what do we find that the world needs, but they don't know that they need it? And that's where then the film industry brings that to them from Botswana and say, oh, you guys don't know that you need this, but now here it is. At one point in 1999, 1998, 1997, Botswana did not know they needed cell phones. But someone then one day said, you need a cell phone. Then Vista came. Today we call it Orange. Mascom is still Mascom. And now today everyone has a cell phone.
Yeah.
But at that time, they didn't know they needed a cell phone. So the question is, yes, we do manufacturing. Yes, we do processing. But what is it that we introduce that's different, or that is the same, but competitively we are able to compete with it?
Yeah.
Right now, look at our current devaluation of the Pula, right? Our government is forcing us to compete with South Africans by eliminating the advantage that the Pula has against the rand. So that means it is also going to have to force us to either increase production. Let's take the production of table eggs. If we can raise enough table eggs for us to export to South Africa, which has a detrimental shortage of eggs, we could argue that we could compete with them, but we must then produce so much eggs that we can sell our eggs for 1 Pula and not for 1 Pula 89 table that we are currently selling them for. So these are elements that must become a thing that is alive and well amongst not just policymakers, but amongst entrepreneurs themselves. They must come together and say, what can we do as an ecosystem of entrepreneurs that we can then do together and create some form of a value chain like the former President Mokgweetsi Masisi was trying to do, and then take it to the world. Those are the critical questions we need to answer. And they are very difficult questions to answer. Very difficult. Yeah. Quick
one. This episode was proudly sponsored by Ola Tia Cafe. they recently launched their new loyalty card. So what happens is you collect the card at the counter and you collect stamps with every purchase. And on your 10th purchase, your treat is on them. Gabriel, I want us to go back to the Pula devaluation. Yeah, I want you to break it down for us. What does it mean to us as Botswana? What does it mean to us as entrepreneurs? Does it favor exports or it favors imports more than which one should we really be interested in that case as entrepreneurs?
No, it doesn't matter at this point. Government is in crisis mode. If the Pula remains strong, we suffer in terms of the reserves. You see, the main fear is the rate at which the reserves are falling with less inflow or no inflow. I would say less, but so immediately we are not going to see a huge impact on the export front because we pretty much export diamonds the most. So we are currently trying to slow the bleeding. That's the best way I can put it for you. But in the medium term, it might no, it's just that the near future is not looking good.
Yeah.
So I don't want to inject hope in a very bad situation.
I understand.
So I'm struggling to say what I want to say, not because I'm afraid of saying it, but because I understand also that we are quite a very unproductive people. We are sloppy. We're not great at wanting to be great. I know the argument would be, oh, not all of us, but that's not the point. I'm not making the point because I want to split hairs. I'm saying though that ordinarily such a situation should make us want to do better, improve our efficiency across all industries, across all sectors. You shouldn't walk into a police station and you're told there's no receipts. Time should be of importance to everyone. You walk into a restaurant and the person who serves you must understand you are here, you want to eat, you want to go. If you go into to get service from somewhere, you want to do something quickly and go. If you are producing chicken, you want to increase your production. If you are supplying the person who's producing chicken with feed, you must make sure that there's always feed. There are no excuses and stuff like that. So those are gaps that make it very difficult to say that such a situation would be beneficial for exports, particularly looking at our attitude towards work. We are not thorough. If you want to see how bad we are, look at how we converse on social media. We make juvenile mistakes, just grammar. So if you're not going to pay attention to your grammar, just your grammar, what else are you not paying attention on? When you look at social media, international social media, right? People fact check. People, they even use computers to, if necessary. When you read, you don't see mistakes, just simple mistakes. You don't see them. But with us, it's like it's a thing, and it's not a problem. So if you can't do such a small thing, how can you do something as big as trying to sustain an economy that is in trouble as we are now? In the long term, maybe we will learn to try and achieve at a higher level. But for now, this only helps government, especially the Bank of Botswana, especially Ministry of Finance, to try and slow down. We should have, the book I wrote and published, We Need an Economic Cooling. It was basically saying, when you are a bus driver and you can see that you are headed towards a wall, maybe you can tank the bus here and let it go into the wild, because you might, a lot more people can survive, because maybe the trees will hold the bus or one way or the other. But a wall, chances of survival when you are hitting a wall at high speed are very slim. And right now, Ministry of Finance, Bank of Botswana, they are trying by all means to pump the brakes, but the wall is still in front of us.
So
because we took so long
yeah.
to make a decision. Yeah.
So in conclusion, as the government made the right decision at the right time.
It's not an issue of right or wrong.
Yeah.
You see, currencies devalue for many reasons. One of the reasons for doing this devaluation, it's not said to us publicly, but remember, government has liabilities, and it must meet those liabilities. You understand? So one of the unfortunate aspects of a government that is running through an economic storm is that it must either devalue its currency or sell its basically its assets, if you call them, right? So what are government's assets? It's the foreign exchange reserves. So foreign exchange reserves, you are talking about gold, for instance. You need gold, you need dollars. So when you go through something like this, you must then start selling those things, and that weakens your economy even more. You understand? So when you sell dollars, for instance, if you are living in a world that uses dollars, when you sell dollars, you go into trouble. So that's what government is trying to do. It's trying to reduce the speed at which it's spending foreign reserves, because it needs to still remain competitive. We are still a strong economy. I'm not saying we are not. In terms of our GDP, we are still a strong economy. We are still stable. We are still investor friendly. We have maybe been affected here and there, and rating agencies have somewhat downgraded us here and there. But if this situation doesn't turn around, we'll have a situation. Understand that it was during Rasengwatshe, who is the father to the current vice president and the minister of finance. He devalued the Botswana Pula in 2005. He devalued it by 12%. It was a shock at the time, because the previous year he had devalued it by about 7.5%. So you can tell over the years, the devaluation of the Pula has been consistent, whether by direct policy intervention or even just by inflation, the movement of inflation and what have you. To show you how much we have devalued, in 1986, a loaf of bread was 60 thebe. A loaf of bread today is $10.
Yeah.
So that's 97% devaluation. You understand?
Yeah.
In 1982, which is the base for Botswana's, when we are calculating our CPI, right? We use what we call cost of living, right? So our cost of living, the baseline of our cost of living is 1982. Today, our cost of living is 25% more than it was at that time. And this 25% saw a large jump from 2020, actually from 2019. So COVID actually increased our cost of living from about 19% at that point. It had grown by 19% since 1982 to today is 25%.
Yes.
So now with the devaluation by the end of the year, I'm expecting us to be at least 27, 28% cost of living. So we are going to have to pay more for fewer and fewer products and services. So I'm trying to paint a picture of some of the challenges that we are facing. Yes.
Yes. So in terms of liabilities, the country's liabilities,
Yes.
I'm not quite sure, but do you think them having to devalue the Pula will mean them now having to pay less for the current liabilities?
No, you see, don't look at don't look at the government account in the same way you look at your account.
Yeah.
There are great impacts. The government liabilities are slightly accounted differently from your normal company balance sheet or your personal balance sheet, right?
Yes.
But what it does is it squeezes government's ability to do certain things. And then the biggest thing that suffers, the biggest thing that suffers when government is unable to maintain its business is services. That's one. And
Yes.
two, even bigger than services, it's entrepreneurship. Because now, when business becomes more expensive to do, it becomes unattractive for people to take risks.
True.
Because now government is either at this point forced to either do one or two of two things or both, which is to either increase taxes or lend more. Both of which are not desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they end up taking liquidity out of the system.
Yes.
So now your pocket keeps bleeding all the time.
Okay.
As you can tell now, everyone is talking about how things are expensive. It's
True.
mainly because 65% of your income now is going to government.
Gabriel, I want us to talk about the letter that you wrote to the president. The reason why I'm stopping you is because I read that letter.
Yes.
And in that letter, I saw that you mentioned taxes and increasing the public debt. Right?
Yes.
So I want us to get to that. So I read that the section where you wrote about the plight of productive minority.
Yes.
The 22 billion deficit.
Yes.
Right. I want us to. Can you break it down for us?
Yes. I think that letter, I wrote it within the first 100 days of President Dumaboko's administration.
Yes.
And in it, I was painting a picture because I had written a letter to former President Mokgweetsi Masisi when he started. In response, I was responding to him closing out the importation of water. He started with water. When he was saying there will be no more importation of water below 10 liters. So that's why then you saw international brands kind of dry up. So I wrote him a letter to say, you are on a path that you are probably not going to like the outcome.
Yes.
When you are looking at it internally, you can understand his vision. Let's take potatoes, for example. Before the closure of potatoes, Botswana, let me say, Botswana consumed at least 20,000 metric tons of potatoes every year.
Yeah.
Before the closure of borders, Botswana were producing 49% of that supply. But since the closure of the borders, I think now I'm using numbers from 2022 or 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Botswana were now producing 75% of potatoes. I'm only talking about potatoes. That means that's a 26% increase. So you can argue and say there was impact in that policy. I could also mention Botswana oil and the sort of realignment of the ecosystem around the supply of fuel in Botswana. You saw Botswana oil jump from making 500 million a year to making 2.5, almost 2.8 billion in a year. Just from that.
Yeah.
Just from that shifting of policy, right? So internally, you would argue that it looks good. But I'm going to ask a ridiculous question. And because you are someone who deals with finance, you should understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So if you put a smausu with your woman or your family, it's 4 of you, and you are the one investing, you give the money and say, well, we are putting a smausu at the gate. And then you put stock of 2,000 Pula. And then you distribute 2,000 Pula in the house. And you say, that's Mausu, we are the only ones buying from it. At the end of the month, how much money will this Mausu bring in the house?
I don't know, the same investment.
So that's what we are trying to do. We are instead of saying, let's bake more cakes, we're saying, let's take the small slices of cakes that we have and cut them in half. So we are increasing the number of slices, but also they are becoming thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
Because we are trying to circulate, we are trying to produce for ourselves. Maybe he had a reason. I will not quickly dismiss him. Maybe he had a reason. Maybe he was hoping that he will win the second term and now say, the second part of my strategy is that now that we have a base on which we can industrialize, now let's go to the next level. Maybe. I call him the most consequential president since Rasengwatshe, by the way, as far as I'm concerned. He's the most consequential president we've had, other than Rasengwatshe. One day I'll have the opportunity to speak at length about that. But I'm not so sure. So that was the basis of why then I wrote my letter to President Dumabo. And I was trying to caution him that his decisions to... The thing about money, the real productive forces are innovators. Those are the real productive forces.
Yeah.
Government employees are unproductive forces of the formal sector, right? They are teachers, beautiful as they are in their contribution to the economy, they are unproductive in the sense that they don't particularly produce something that can then go and fetch value and bring it. It's not to insult them or to insult their intelligence. Yeah. Yes.
Do you think we are moving around in cycles?
No, we are not moving around in circles. We are taking too long to catch on. In general, you need producers. You need more people to produce. You need more people to make things and to innovate and to solve big problems that currently we are not solving for a fee. Obviously, poor people like communism. They want communism. They want government to give them things. Rich people like Marxism. They want to control government for their own gain, right? But innovators like capitalism. You know, I'm solving your problem, give me your money.
Yeah.
And that should be basically the attitude. So if we continue in the way we are going, where right now electricity is cheaper in the household, but it has been increased in the office. So you are not really giving back. You are taking this side from Paul and you are giving to Pauline on the other hand. You are going to start struggling in that people will start seeing it difficult to want to invest their money because it's going to be taken from them anyway. Let's not forget, regardless of what we say when we are at varsity or college or wherever, let's not forget that taxes actually are paid by business people. They are not paid by employees. Government employees are not paying tax. It's an accounting magic. It happens in the in the payslip.
Yeah.
That's just a deduction in the payslip. There's no account where the money goes. This money is from taxes from government employees. If government has 10 million in the account, it will still have 10 million in the account. It's not going to all of a sudden be 10.5 million because, this is tax from government employees, right? So it's a deduction. So in the same form, it's a deduction for any employee anywhere. I'll tell you why. If the company does not meet its revenue targets by the end of the year, it will still owe BRS. And now who takes the risk for it? Who gets to pay the tax? The employee leaves. It says, "Naked, where's the tax?" Meaning you deducted from me. Now it's your problem. But when you couldn't pay at BRS because the money was never enough
Yes.
to cover that, but you are now remaining with the challenge. So as you can see all around us, Botswana are struggling to pay tax. It's got nothing to do with anything. It's just that we hardly ever meet our revenue targets in a year, and then the company remains with a tax bill, and then when they can't pay tax, BRS starts charging penalties. When they can't do that, BRS starts charging interest on penalties and on the tax.
Yeah.
You deal with this all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So we need to love entrepreneurs. They take a risk. They sell their homes. They sell their assets. They fight with their wives. And we need to give them much more props than we are currently. We hate entrepreneurs and business people. We laugh at them when they fail. That's how much I know we hate them. We laugh.
Yeah.
But these are the people that government from there can generate income from. So you need more entrepreneurs, not more government employees.
So what you are saying, Mr. Gab, is that government employees do not pay tax because the government does not withhold tax on behalf of its employees.
You can confirm that. You are an auditor. Do you think government withholds tax and then says, oh, my employees paid me so much tax? Does that make sense?
I hear you. No, I hear you.
Which new money are the employees bringing?
So there isn't an account in government that...
It is. It's the one that brought the salaries.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is, where's the new money?
So that is just formality.
No, it's accounting magic.
I hear you,
It's
Mr. Gab.
accounting magic.
So why are you saying entrepreneurs will pay the price?
Because entrepreneurs are the ones who are paying tax.
Okay. Are the only ones who are paying
They are
tax?
the only ones who are paying tax.
So
If BRS, you can't tell BRS we didn't meet revenue targets, and you can't tell your employees it was accounting magic, I was deducting your money, I didn't have it. You can't say that. They walk around and tell BRS, I pay tax. I don't understand what you mean. So at that point, you must go look for the money.
yeah.
You do this for a living. I don't understand.
No, I hear you, Mr. I hear you, Mr.
Maybe
Gab.
it's a strange way of you looking at it finally.
Yeah.
But that's what you are trying to solve for your clients every time you go to them.
True.
And they're showing you their balance sheet, and you are looking at them, you are like, this is a going concern.
Yeah.
And you are like, you got to do something about this tax.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, my revenue is low. It's like, yeah, I can see that.
But tax.
But tax.
I
Don't
understand.
you have that conversation with
I
them
do that
all
on a
the
daily
time?
basis. Yeah.
Are the employees sitting there?
No,
Who is sitting there?
the business owner.
And who then has to solve it?
The business owner.
What do they do if their money is in the company doesn't work?
BRS doesn't care.
So what are you saying?
I hear you.
So who's the most important person?
An entrepreneur.
So why are we taxing him 65%? And by the way, we are taxing an entrepreneur 65% before they even pay themselves. The entrepreneur is the last person, if they are lucky, to get paid.
Yeah.
The last person. They must pay everyone. Everyone, including government.
If they run on negatives, is their problem.
Their problem.
Yeah.
First of all, the entrepreneur starts with their own money. So they're already on a negative when they start.
As an investment.
When they start.
Yeah.
So then you have to treat them like they're inconsequential. How is that possible?
Mr. Gab, I want us to talk before we close. I want us to talk about the proposal. The proposals that the president was talking about. The one that we are responding to. What are those proposals? What were they saying? That you saw it fit to respond and to caution them.
I think President Boko he's caught between a rock and a hard place. It's not necessarily what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because what he says personally and what his government says and the composition of his government, especially at executive level, there are very many competing interests. Up to this point, and I never knew it could be possible, I would have never thought that Botswana National Front, who are staunch communists stretching towards Marxism, I could have never thought that they could be in the same government with moderate capitalists, if not full capitalists, in the Alliance for Progressives. Because the background of the AP is Botswana Democratic Party, who in public they are social democrats, right? They are socialists. But in application, they were more, in their policy framework, you could see they were trying to balance the interest of the people and the interest of business. And then you've got Botswana Patriotic Front, who are, I think, cosplaying as traditionalists. You know, when sometimes you listen to them talk, it's like you are listening to Umkhonto Wesizwe of Jacob Zuma. It's like and they are the main reason why government is now on this drive to increase the influence of the Dikhosi. Now, I don't know what that means exactly. What giving them their proper place. I don't know what it means. I'm still to see what giving the Dikhosi their proper place is. But now you've got this very interesting interests playing out together around President Boko. And I'm wondering how he manages to do it, because in his speech, when he's talking just in general, not when he's talking at work, when he's just when he now expresses who he is, to me, he's more capitalist than most of us.
Yeah.
He talks of tax cuts. He once said taxes are too high, debt is too high. Right?
Yeah.
He once said that. We agree. Except me, I'm like, abolish taxes because they are theft. Why are you making an employee pay you because they went to work? That doesn't make sense. Why is an employee paying tax? If we need taxes, maybe we can tax products. But we shouldn't tax your sweat. That means if you're on the highest band, even lowest, but let's use the highest band. The highest band is 25%. They have not increased yet, right? There is a moratorium on that increase.
Yeah.
That means if you are earning 10,000 Pula, 2,500 Pula of your money, you will never have. You will always have 8,500.
So do you think?
Sorry, whatever the amount, 7,500.
Yes.
Right? So I'm trying to get somewhere here. That means every year you are losing 30,000 Pula from your paycheck.
Is it a loss?
Yes, it is. Because it's your money.
What if it was calculated before you got the offer?
No, but it's your money. That's what you are. We shouldn't tax you. You are a human being. You are flesh and blood. We can tax a property. We can tax a service or a product if we need to tax. But we don't have to. But since we seem to like tax so much, can we tax what you are producing, not tax you for your time? And that's what is causing poverty.
So employees shouldn't pay tax?
No, they shouldn't. Employees shouldn't pay tax. If at all, we should pay a sales tax, or I don't agree with corporate tax, but it happens because you made a profit. But I don't understand why you are being taxed for doing well.
Yeah.
I mean, making a profit means you did well. You ran your business very well. You managed to meet your targets, and you managed to even make a bit more. So, as far as I'm concerned, his situation, trying to conclude and going back, and why I wrote him a letter, he needs to, I was trying to say to him, he needs to understand that only business can bring him the success he's looking for. So he shouldn't unleash the interests of the unproductive majority who rely on welfare mostly on the productive minority, because business people by nature, they will always be fewer than everyone else.
So you should invest more on entrepreneurs.
If he reduces taxes, yes, that will be the only investment that entrepreneurs need.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs do not need funding from CEDA, by the way. They need to keep more money in their pockets, because with it, they can then expand their businesses. So they need more funding because they don't keep much of it. So that's why they end up going to banks for more debt. So if you want to help entrepreneurs, Mr. President, cut those taxes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mr. Gab, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Before we close, I want to just ask you a random question.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, have you ever been in what most people call the darkest space?
Yes. Of course.
How did you come out of it?
I don't know if it's necessarily something you can come out of necessarily. The thing about business, by the way, I have a doctrine about business. Business is supposed to solve challenges. That's why entrepreneurship works. Capitalism works. You see, I call capitalism the only system that has a heart. And former President Festus Mogae said it very well. I mean, he was echoing the words of great capitalists before him, even Adam Smith, the so-called father of capitalism as we have come to know it today. Capitalism looks at what is lacking in society. And President Festus Mogae said, it is the best way to distribute resources. If you want to distribute medicine that we don't have in hospitals, the best way is to use capitalism. Because capitalism would look for what is in demand, right? Not what should be stocked in case there is demand.
Yes.
So I think I have had very difficult challenges to solve. Right now, the biggest challenge we've been solving in the last 2 years, since we started creating the ecosystem in Johannesburg, for the benefit of the local entrepreneurs, because they are going to need that infrastructure, right, has been to understand the import-export doctrine between Botswana and South Africa. It's easy to bring things from South Africa to Botswana, and it's harder to take things from Botswana to South Africa. At the lowest of that experience, we lost a consignment of processed potatoes that were destroyed at the border between Botswana and South Africa. And we lost close to 200,000 Pula.
That's a lot.
It is, because it's just one consignment. And then, but it was not the loss that was an issue. It was the fact that there was no great reason why it had to happen. There was not even an act to say we are confiscating this and we are destroying it because of this.
Yeah.
There was none. But somehow we were right, but we were also wrong.
Yeah.
The Botswana Unified Revenue Service had said, no, the consignment can go through, there was nothing wrong. But the Agriculture Inspectorate said, no, it can't go through.
Yeah.
So now we are sitting there with permission from BURS to bring the stuff in. But also this side, we are holding a detain and destroy certificate. Now. So I'm trying to paint to you what it would look like to be at your lowest at that point. Yes. But it was not like an emotional, what's going on? It was, but why is it happening like this? And so how do we solve it? Because we can't stop wanting to achieve what we want to achieve. We won't allow it to go that way. So in a way, we transition by even wanting to do it even more and wanting to make it work.
So it's an inspiration.
Yeah, basically, you
Yeah.
can't stop. For at least for my ecosystem, the guys I work with, our understanding is that we are creating a conduit. So we need more people to benefit from our infrastructure. I think if we were doing it for ourselves, I think it would be a different feeling. So in that way, there's purpose. When you are doing business for a purpose,
Yeah.
then not so many things will bring you down.
All right. Mr. Gab, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Great work. And
Thank you, sir.
do well.
Yeah.